Hello, everybody. Good morning. I'm from Jakarta, and now I'm talking with Professor Faridah Hassan, leading academicians from UiTM, Universiti Teknologi MARA Malaysia. And she was also Dean in Faculty of Management, and also currently she's Deputy President of World Academy of Islamic Management. So thank you, Prof, for you joining us, Prof Faridah. So I'm glad you are here now.
Thank you.
So how are you?
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much for inviting me, Prof. Bastama. It's nice
Okay,
to see you again. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to see you again for after 2 3 years COVID.
Right. And
Yes,
you look more wiser now. You look very young when I met you. Now you look very
you
wise.
said I'm getting older.
No. You look very educated.
So
Yeah.
thank you.
Right.
Thank you. Purpose, I think we talked earlier. We are going to talk about Bahasa Malaysia, as a language, a national language in Malaysia.
Yeah.
So, talking about Bahasa, national language, I would like to know firstly about the composition of the race structure, in Malaysia.
Okay. I think based on your question,
Mhm.
I would say that I think you would like to know about our racial composition.
Yeah, composition
Yes,
and
yes,
percentage.
right. Generally, since independence, which is
Mhm.
in 1957,
Uh-huh.
our breakdown is like 60% Malays, and
Uh-huh.
then we have about 30% Chinese and
Uh-huh.
10% Indian, and we also have many ethnic groups, like
Okay.
from the Iban,
Mhm.
the Malanao, and many
Mhm.
others,
Mhm.
and these groups are actually the numbers are about the same, ever
Okay.
since independence until now.
Mhm.
So Alhamdulillah, if you look at our national Rukun Negara, which is the
Mhm.
national principles that are being laid down by the government,
Right.
we have the pillars that the Rukun Negara pillars that we have to
Mhm.
follow
Mhm.
through,
Right.
to just like in Indonesia. So
Uh-huh.
so we have like we need to have like kepercayaan kepada Allah atau
Mhm.
kepada Tuhan,
Right.
and then we have the kesultanan,
Mhm.
and a few other three more to add in, and so these principles really guide us ever since, as a population, as well as
Mhm.
in the school system education, that
Okay.
these are the principles that are being laid out for us to follow through. So Alhamdulillah, I would say Malaysia has been in harmony since
Mhm.
the British left us in
Mhm.
1957 when we had the independence.
Right.
Even I do have foster parents who came from
Mhm.
US way back in 1980s, and they were shocked to see how,
Mhm.
assimilated we are, within the
Right.
different ethnic groups, which they
Mhm.
felt that we are very, very multicultural
Mhm.
country compared to many other countries that they have
Right.
known. And
Mhm.
although the advanced country claim
Uh-huh.
that they are, cosmopolitan, and
Uh-huh.
they are really, multi cultural,
Mhm.
multiracial, but they do not get this kind of combination like in Malaysia, because unlike in many other countries, if you go to China, it's from the Chinese descendant. If you go to India,
Mhm.
from the Indian descendants. And I love it, like Indonesia, it's Indonesian,
Mhm.
so that's the setup. So even though Malaysia, the word Malay and Sia,
Mhm.
Sia means land. All right.
Yes.
So is a Malay land, but it does have a good mixture of ethnic groups that came
Right.
during the British time, because it was all set up during the British time, uh, just around independence in 1957. So those
Right.
are the composition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so with there's so many ethnic group, in Malaysia. So
Yes.
how the Bahasa as a national language is being perceived, response by all the ethnic group.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Prof. Bastaman,
Mm-hmm.
when I read through your question, I felt it was such an interesting
Mm-hmm.
invitation,
Right.
because I would like to share,
Mm-hmm.
as compared to Indonesia and
Uh-huh.
Malaysia, both are Malays,
Right.
majority are the Malays,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a slight difference. Initially,
Mm-hmm.
when you invited me, if I'm not mistaken, to speak in Malay, I
Mm-hmm.
was excited and also a little bit skeptical, because
Mm-hmm.
our language, there's a slight difference. So
Right.
I love to share in bahasa. I would like to share in bahasa Malay, bahasa
Uh-huh.
Melayu. However, I would like the population, more than 300 million
Uh-huh.
in this area, all right,
Right.
would understand it, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel that it's a good challenge for me. Then when you
Mm-hmm.
change it into English, I think, okay, we speak in a universal language, and inshallah, we
Mm-hmm.
will be able to
Mm-hmm.
exchange and share a lot
Right.
more information
Mm-hmm.
in general. Okay, coming
Right.
back to how it is it precedes in Malaysia. One of the requirement actually in Malaysia is to have the Malay language as the main language, bahasa
Mm-hmm.
kebangsaan. All
Mm-hmm.
right. However, way back in 1957, when we started
Mm-hmm.
off the schools, set up over
Mm-hmm.
here, the authorities then and the new government then allow the set up of vernacular schools. Vernacular
Okay.
schools meaning the races over here can set up their own
Mm-hmm.
school, teaching in their own language,
Mm-hmm.
because for enrichment of the
Mm-hmm.
culture, as well as so that they will remember
Mm-hmm.
their their culture, as well as their
Mm-hmm.
language,
Okay.
mother language,
Mm-hmm.
before they
Mm-hmm.
come to Malaysia. So
Right.
it was set up in a very good faith, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and coming back till now, more than 60 years now,
Right.
things has not changed,
Mm-hmm.
which personally, as an academician for
Mm-hmm.
40 over years in
Mm-hmm.
Malaysia, in Universiti Teknologi MARA,
Mm-hmm.
I wish there should be a lot more assimilation, as well
Okay.
as a lot more you know balancing, as well
Mm-hmm.
as focus, and also keeping the principles intact. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
why do I say that? Number one, I just like in Indonesia, you have Bahasa Indonesia.
Mm-hmm.
In Malaysia, we have Bahasa Malaysia. Both are
Right.
Malay language. Even Singapore, their language that they focus uh, formally is Bahasa Melayu. All right,
Melayu. Right.
Bahasa Melayu. Okay. Now, the interesting part in Malaysia is that if I were to look at it objectively,
Mm-hmm.
for more assimilation,
Mm-hmm.
I felt that the authorities of the government of the day then and
Mm-hmm.
now should actually come up with a system where it integrates all Malaysians.
Mm-hmm.
That is, one national school, just like in
Mm-hmm.
Indonesia, one national school
Mm-hmm.
with the main language, which is Bahasa Indonesia, or in Malaysia would be Bahasa Malaysia, Malay
Right.
language, but offering and making it maybe compulsory or optional
Right.
for all the Malaysians to
Mm-hmm.
also learn the major ethnic languages, such as Mandarin, as well
Okay.
as Indian, you know,
Mm-hmm.
Tamil or maybe Hindi, either one they
Mm-hmm.
can choose. Now the reason being, I feel there'll be a lot more of understanding amongst the
Mm-hmm.
people, and a lot of cooperation, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of respect, a lot of negotiation, and
Right.
economically, Prof. Bastaman,
Mm-hmm.
I would say Malaysians are an advantage. An
Mm-hmm.
advantage because okay, if we talk about the Malays here,
Mm-hmm.
they speak Bahasa Melayu as well as Arabic, you know, because
Right.
a lot of them have to take Arabic in their religious school, because religion
Mm-hmm.
is very important in
Mm-hmm.
the Malay society.
Right.
It's a must, you know, from young,
Mm-hmm.
and that exposes other Malaysians, the Chinese Malaysian, Indian Malaysian, and
Mm-hmm.
other Malaysians, you know, whether you're from the IBAN group or many other groups
Mm-hmm.
here, to appreciate, you know, some
Mm-hmm.
Arabic words which are already in the Malay system, like
Mm-hmm.
the word syukur, or you
Mm-hmm.
know, alhamdulillah,
Right.
inshallah. Because I do find my non-Malay friends who do business in the Middle East right now, you
Mm.
know, they felt welcome, and they felt nothing new, because all
Right.
these are being spoken in
Mm-hmm.
Malaysia. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's an advantage to them. All right.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
and then yes, so I think that's one part of it. Now,
Mm-hmm.
so I felt the Malaysian, Chinese, Malaysian, Indian are more at advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when it comes to why I mentioned that that they should also, the Malays, you know, should also learn Mandarin and India and Indian language.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's because look at the world, all right?
Mm-hmm.
The I would say the population that may be able to speak Bahasa Melayu, okay, majority
Mm-hmm.
are from Indonesia, all right?
Mm-hmm.
The whole population, I would say, would come up to almost 500 million, all right? Half a
Mm.
billion, which is
Right.
500 million, okay? May it be from South Philippines or South Thailand or in Vietnam itself,
Mm-hmm.
may it be in Indonesia, Singapore, Brunei, and in Malaysia itself. So there's a lot of there's an economy here, right? There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
similarities here. So that's one advantage. And then if they are able to pick up Arabic, they can even go, you know, simple languages. They can even
Mm-hmm.
do business in the Middle East. And
Mm-hmm.
Middle East is a huge area, you know,
Mm-hmm.
coming from UAE and Iran and many
Mm-hmm.
others, where we share same languages, you
Mm-hmm.
know, Arabic languages, just basic. Now,
Mm-hmm.
coming back to China,
Mm-hmm.
Prof. Bastamam, you
Mm-hmm.
have 1.4 billion population of China, all right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of Malaysians are doing business with China,
Right.
including halal business, Prof.
Ah, okay.
Bastaman, including halal business. And, you know, you don't need an intermediary. The
Mm-hmm.
interesting part is that the Chinese from China, from the
Mm-hmm.
mainland, understood very well the Malaysian Chinese speaking Mandarin. There's not
Right.
much difference. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so meaning they can command, they have a very good command of Mandarin. So can you
Mm-hmm.
imagine the whole Malaysian, okay,
Mm-hmm.
if they can do business with China, doesn't matter
Mm-hmm.
whether they are Malay, they're Indian, or they are Chinese,
Mm-hmm.
what do you call that, Malaysian.
Mm-hmm.
They got a big economy there to take
Mm-hmm.
care of. Okay, now I bring you to India, Prof.
Right.
Astama.
Right.
We have 1.3 billion,
Mm-hmm.
okay, Indians in India itself, and we have our Indian friends, Indian Malaysians, you know, who can do business over there. And
Mm-hmm.
alhamdulillah, they trade over here, they come over here to do the trading. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, the population is good. You know, if you don't get
Mm-hmm.
big good prices, you
Mm-hmm.
get good population. Because what I mean by good prices, you may not have very high price, but you get low price, but the volume itself is is big sales, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And interestingly, Prof. Bastamam,
Mm-hmm.
India has the second largest Muslim population next to
Yes.
Indonesia, which is
Mm-hmm.
being bypassed. And
Right.
can you imagine the business that goes around, you know,
Mm-hmm.
in the Islamic economy here,
Right.
and the total population in the world, which caters for Muslim halal food, is two
Mm-hmm.
billion. That's one quarter of the world's population.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking into a lot of integration, a lot of opportunities, and
Mm-hmm.
I think Indonesia is an advantage because of the command of Bahasa Melayu, okay,
Mm-hmm.
Bahasa Indonesia,
It's Indonesia.
and it's been adopted in most of the universities abroad, you know,
Mm-hmm.
in the European countries as
Mm-hmm.
well as in US or even in
Mm-hmm.
Australasia.
Mm-hmm.
So, because of the majority of the people, they don't pick up bahasa Malaysia atau
Mm-hmm.
bahasa Melayu dari Malaysia because
Mm-hmm.
the population is small. But they
Mm-hmm.
pick up bahasa Indonesia from Indonesia, which
Mm-hmm.
is Malay,
Mm-hmm.
Indonesian Malay, because of the big population. And if you can speak Indonesia, you can speak in other Malay archipelago. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the part that I felt that you know, answering to your question,
Mm-hmm.
how Bahasa Melayu is being
Mm-hmm.
accepted now, or
Right.
being interacted now. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
nevertheless, I would say those
Uh-huh.
Malaysians who go into sekolah kebangsaan, national school,
Right.
they really have a good command of Bahasa Melayu, because
Okay.
when I speak to the younger
Uh-huh.
generation, they speak well because they interact well and all that.
Right.
But during my time, okay, I was born in 1958, and I was in a school, in a convent school. We have convent school in most of the states in Malaysia.
Mm-hmm.
So I was educated in English. My friends who are Chinese Malaysian, they go for tuition during my time to learn
Mm-hmm.
Bahasa Melayu, Bahasa
Mm-hmm.
Malaysia. Surprisingly and interestingly,
Mm-hmm.
Prof. Bastaman, they scored better than me in Bahasa Melayu because,
Really?
yeah, because okay, yeah, we are born with the mother tongue
Uh-huh.
Bahasa Melayu, but they
Right.
learn the technique on how to score, you know, like
Uh-huh.
modulo answers and all that, and they got it
Uh-huh.
right. And
Right.
I mean, this is interesting. So,
Mm-hmm.
uh, however, recently, which is quite sad, I just want to share a little bit what's happening in Malaysia.
Mm-hmm.
When the government wants to award the citizenship to Malaysians, you know,
Mm-hmm.
who have been here or born in Malaysia during independence, there are still who do not speak Bahasa Malaysia, Bahasa
Mm-hmm.
Melayu Malaysia, and
Mm-hmm.
that's sad. And
Mm-hmm.
there was a TikTok, Prof. Astama, which is very
Right.
interesting, from an Indonesian Chinese, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I find it very touching when I meet Indonesian Chinese or
Mm-hmm.
any Indonesian. They
Right.
don't cater, they don't regard themselves as Chinese. They are just Indonesian.
Yes.
So they were surprised, you know, that when they went to Malacca, which we
Uh-huh.
want to go soon and all that, they went for holiday, and they went
Uh-huh.
to a Chinese restaurant, and they
Uh-huh.
wanted to eat Chinese food, and they were
Mm-hmm.
ordering the food in Bahasa Indonesia. That restaurant couldn't speak Bahasa Malaysia. They speak in
Uh-huh.
English. They couldn't speak in English, and
Right.
they can only speak Mandarin,
Mm-hmm.
and the Indonesian Chinese can't speak Mandarin, and they question, how come the Malaysians here do not speak Bahasa Malaysia? That's a big question mark, Prof. Bastamam. I would
Right.
like to ask the same question
Uh-huh.
too, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in my case, Prof. Bastamam, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I was lucky.
Right.
I studied, I graduated from University Teknologi MARA.
Right.
And in my first 3 years, I learned Mandarin. And
Mm-hmm.
not only speaking, oral,
Mm-hmm.
but also in writing. And I
Right.
can write very well. And I scored A's for that. But
Oh.
when I furthered my studies in US, I
Mm-hmm.
lost it because I did not practice it. Okay.
Mm.
When I was studying in UiTM, when I studied Mandarin, I would go to the Petaling Street here, which I
Right.
hope you have been there, the Chinatown. I will converse in Mandarin, and they will give me discount in the products that I'm going to buy, and I'm so happy. So now, after many years, I can remember the words, but I
Mm.
just can't join the
Mhm.
sentencing for Mandarin. And again,
Mhm.
I have to go back to class, to learn that.
Right.
And with all this online, it's just,
Mhm.
you just need an effort to recap. But
Mhm.
when I go to China, I do understand what they say, and they got a shock, because when they look at the Malaysians coming to China, my
Uh-huh.
team were the Indian group, the Chinese group, and the Malay group, and
Mhm.
we work and we moved everything together, go shopping together. So they
Mhm.
were like surprised, where are these people from? They are very colorful people, So
Mhm.
they look like Chinese from mainland, they look like Malay, brown, they
Right.
look like Indians. So I
Mhm.
turned around, I told them, we are from Malaysia, and I am Malayan, and they were shocked. Malayan means I am orang Melayu. So
Right.
yeah. So if you ask me what's ahead in Malaysia, there's a lot of improvement, okay, and
Mhm.
I think progress.
Mhm.
To be like Indonesia, but
Mhm.
still, I don't mind, the Chinese or the Indians wanting to maintain their,
Mhm.
culture and also the language. But I think it's high time the Malaysian Chinese and Malaysian Indians must enroll themselves in
Mhm.
the sekolah kebangsaan.
Mhm.
The government tried to do that, but it was not
Mhm.
successful because
Mhm.
they put everybody together. It takes time, to like move from vernacular school to the
Mhm.
national school,
Mhm.
and I think we need to go into that system in
Right.
order to progress further
Mhm.
cooperatively, very understanding between each
Mhm.
other, and that would be a progressive Malaysia
Mhm.
to my definition, Prof.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
I hope
So
I made
my
sense to you. I hope I made sense to you, but I think it should, because you have visited Malaysia many times and you
right.
saw what it's like.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I see it. I mean, I understand and I
I think you may
experience.
be surprised also,
Mhm.
I mean, compared to Indonesia,
Yes.
and yeah. So, but I think there's room for improvement,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
there's a lot that Malaysia can do to move ahead.
Right.
Mm.
So, do you say that youth generation, young generation in Malaysia, regarding of their races and cultural background, do they speak more Malay or Bahasa Malay, Malaysia, comparing to the old generations?
They can during my
Uh-huh.
batch, because I have friends right now who have migrated overseas,
Mhm.
But when we joke around in a WhatsApp group,
Uh-huh.
they still speak the Malay that we used to speak in school.
Okay.
But I'm not surprised if their parents, because they will be the third generation in
Uh-huh.
Malaysia, but their
Right.
forefathers may not be able to do so. So if
Mhm.
they are about like 90 years old or 100 years old in Malaysia now, some may not be able to speak Bahasa
Mhm.
Malaysia because they still live within their
Mhm.
ethnic groups. But their parents may be able to speak Bahasa Malaysia. They may not go to the education system in
Mhm.
Malaysia. They may be able to speak Bahasa Malaysia because they live within the residential
Mhm.
area, like in the kampung, with
Mhm.
doing business, retail. And they also, like in the pasar, in the
Mhm.
market, wet market, they have to communicate in Bahasa Melayu,
Mhm.
basic,
Mhm.
to interact. But my generation are better off. They can
Right.
speak Bahasa Malaysia well. But
Mhm.
the current generation, it will be a surprise. It will be a
Mhm.
shock. It will be, I would say, an embarrassment if they
Mhm.
cannot speak Bahasa Malaysia well, because you are in this country for so many
Mhm.
years, but you do not adopt and adapt.
Mhm.
but I think there's a lot of Bahasa Malaysia, like signages or advertisement or social media in Bahasa Malaysia where they could pick up easily. So I think if they don't, I think that need to be questioned, because that has been the recent question in the medias. Why can't you speak Bahasa Malaysia after 60 over years of independence and you call yourself a Malaysian, right? So
Okay.
some of the pointers, right?
And also communication in companies in Malaysia. Do Bahasa Malaysia use?
Yeah. If it is from the public sector, it's a requirement. All letters are in Bahasa Malaysia,
right,
but not in the private sectors or the corporate sectors, because a lot of the dealings are done with the overseas market.
right.
So a lot of times they will do it in English.
Yes.
But that doesn't discount them from not writing in Bahasa Malaysia, because they still need to deal with the government. So normally they have, in the corporate com, they have both languages. But I guess English is, well, I would say, used, in Malaysia. Because whenever I go to Indonesia, they will ask me, why would Malaysians always answer us back in English, because we didn't realize it's already in us, and yeah, I never thought of it. And then they would say that, why would Malaysia mengagung-agungkan bahasa Inggeris? I would say we did not agung-agungkan bahasa Inggeris. It so happened that we were colonized, and the setup is such that we were it was there and we just moved along. So I guess just like in Indonesia, because it is Dutch or Belanda, so if you go to Netherlands, you will be well accepted. Yeah, I could see apotek there, all the words and everything, and also and I think Indonesians can also speak Dutch, and also and Dutch, because they are a small nation, small population, they acquire Bahasa Indonesia. So, which is very interesting, and in order to do trades and all that. But in Malaysia, it's a bit different. It's opposite. We do not only deal with the British, we deal with the European countries. So English is very well taught. And another part of Prof Bastaman is because our passport can be used in any country in European, in EU countries. So
oh, really?
Yes. So we don't have that
You
problem.
don't have a visa to enter any European country?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
Right.
In fact, any Commonwealth countries, we need visas, because that's a common agreement.
Right.
So that's why when I realize sometimes when I meet my friends, from Indonesia and all that, due to historical reasons, they say, why do we have to apply for visa where Malaysians don't? It's because of our historical background.
Yes.
And I'm sure if Indonesians were to go to Netherlands, you don't need to have the visa.
We still need to have visa.
You still need to have visa?
Yes.
Oh, I'm surprised.
And nobody in Indonesia speak Dutch.
Wow. Okay.
Nobody. It's not popular, and nobody speak Dutch. And I think relationship is different between Malaysia and the British, and Indonesia with the Dutch.
Yeah.
It's totally different.
Yeah. Now, Prof Bastamam, after 60 years, 60 plus years after they left our country, I mean, you can imagine what happened at that time. The Spaniards went to Philippines, the Dutch went to Indonesia, the British come to Malaysia. In fact, the Portuguese also came to Malacca, the Dutch came to Malacca, but later they decided, hey, you take this part, I take this part. So what happened to us now is because of what happened then. And if you ask me, is it good, to speak in English and all that? it does give a lot of advantages. You know, a
Okay.
lot of us studied overseas, and
Mm.
I guess our English score, alhamdulillah,
Mm.
commendable.
Right.
We also teach our children to speak in English,
Mm.
because
Mm.
for the future too. But
Right.
not to
Mm.
disregard the Malay language, because
Mm.
you need to not only acquire these two languages, you must
Mm.
learn all the languages in the
Right.
country. That's why to
Mm.
me, you need to learn Mandarin, you need to learn
Mm.
Indian language, because
Right.
I took a Mandarin and I felt like, wow, I want to
The
learn more.
multi
Yes.
languages.
Yes, yes. But I
Yes.
think when I mentioned to you about the economy, that opens up a lot of mind,
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, why I said that, because I think Malaysia has a lot of advantages compared to neighboring countries, like
Mm.
Thailand, they speak only Thai.
Mm.
Indonesia, if you want to, I think the Chinese from mainland, if you want to deal
Mm.
with Indonesia, they will learn the Indonesian language, okay,
Mm.
not vice versa. So
Yes.
unless you want to do it. But
Mm.
I felt that's a disadvantage of Malaysia, because
Yeah.
Malaysia is an advantage, and they
Mm.
don't use,
Mm.
like Singapore. Okay, they deal with the Chinese mainland in the language that I mean they're familiar with. I mean, they can speak
Mm.
Mandarin, but if they speak Cantonese, like
Mm.
the Hongkies, okay, that
Right.
the Hong Kong people,
Mm-hmm.
that's a different language
Different
altogether.
language. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so but Mandarin is the highly sought language
Mm-hmm.
standard,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we should acquire that quickly in our national
Mm-hmm.
system. We lost 60 years of
Mm-hmm.
that kind of assimilation. You need a
Mm-hmm.
strong leader to say, hey, do this, and just follow what I say, because it'll be good for you, just like we parents do that to our children.
Mm-hmm.
When the mom and dad say, this is good for you, do it. And yes, it is good for you. And you decide later it's not good for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Talking about English, do you say that in Malaysia, English is more accepted as, language for all, comparing to Bahasa Malaysia? What do you think? I
Okay.
mean, in terms of
As
convenient to speak,
Yes, yes, yes.
Mhm,
I guess there has been a lot of tourists in Malaysia. At one
mhm,
time is 1 to 1, 27 million population
mhm.
of Malaysia,
Right.
27 million of
What
tourists coming
tourists?
in. So in the end, even any Tom, Dick, and Harry by the roadside, by the street speaks English.
Right.
In fact, the Prof. Bastamam, if you go to
Mhm,
India, you'll be
mhm,
surprised to see little kids,
mhm.
before in kindergarten age
Right.
speaks English, because of that colonialism, and
Uh-huh.
it kind of triggered down. And I
Right.
was shocked, when I went to their country, their
Uh-huh.
kids from the primary school are able to present a case
Mm,
study.
mm,
I'm at the university level, and with their command of English, they just speak
mm,
the language just like as smooth as water flowing, and I went like,
mm,
wow. And then and in
mm,
fact, sometimes I felt they were better than Malaysia,
mm,
because it's in
mm,
this in either in the system, indirectly. Okay,
mm,
so um I would say, if you happen to know the language,
mm.
you're at an advantage. So,
Right.
and because of business, economy, and foreign trade, yes, I guess English
Mm,
would be well accepted. During
right.
my time, Pravastamam,
Mhm,
I was informed at that time. I did not understand. I was in my first year study in diploma, and my friends were taking French.
mhm.
I maybe at that time, uh, Malaysia had some business with
Right.
France. So, but I wasn't going for that. I say I want
Mhm,
to learn Mandarin, because why not? But without
mm,
understanding either. But when
right.
I did, I felt like Malaysians should take Mandarin.
Mhm,
And apart from English. So
mhm.
So that should be the way. Is it more acceptable? I would say yes. It is more acceptable not because they're being forced to, because
Right.
the environment that makes them more fluent and
Right.
also exposed to. I can share with you, Prof. Bastama, if you go to the
Right.
national park,
Mm-hmm.
you see the tourist guide,
Right.
Malaysian tourist guide. Some of them are Malays, they were not educated in the formally in school.
Mm-hmm.
They're not, some of them are not school leavers, they may have gone to school for a couple of years, and then
Right.
because of poverty, they
Mm-hmm.
work in within the area, and they become tourist guide. They
Mm-hmm.
acquire the language, they speak
Mm-hmm.
very fluent English, very fluent French. Whatever
Mm-hmm.
tourist comes in, they would acquire that language.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess with that small population in Malaysia, 30 million, as
Right.
compared to Indonesia, almost 300 million, it's easier over here to, I would say, manage the language.
Mm-hmm.
So unlike in Indonesia, you have a few hundreds, I think, ethnic languages,
Yes.
if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken. It was
Yeah.
very interesting, but
That's
you have
right.
one Bahasa Indonesia.
Yes.
So
Uh-huh.
that's good. I
Everybody
mean,
speak in
yes,
Bahasa
yes.
Indonesia.
Yes, so I felt the leaders had their own vision then,
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I like the question mark. Why are you, in Malaysia not being able to speak Bahasa Malaysia
Mm-hmm.
at all? That's a big
Mm-hmm.
shock and surprise, especially when you want to give a citizenship. I think
Mm-hmm.
that you need to go for class for that. Because my lecturer,
Mm-hmm.
she's from New Zealand and she married
Right.
a Malaysian. In order for her to work in our university, she had to
Mm-hmm.
take the high school
Mm-hmm.
exam, and she passed, and she was so happy.
Mm-hmm.
And in order for her to work, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a scenario in Malaysia, Prof. Bastama.